It is 8 a.m. on Tuesday here in Chicagoland. I am Allison Henderson coming to you for our Listening with Your Eyes LinkedIn Live. Please put questions and comments in the chat as we go today. I have a super great tip that I am thrilled to share with you today. It's something that has developed in the last couple of days for me as I go back to directing theater of all things. I was asked to direct a Zoom play and we just started rehearsals. And of course, I use all of the movement work that I do with executives, with my actors as well. And it got me thinking about how I am directing my actors and how that perhaps works to help our communication in our business arena as well. So stick with me when we get to that. Just wanted to give a quick shout out and hello to anyone who will be attending the Illinois CPA Summit. It is my first live speaking gig in a long time is today. Can't wait to get out to Rosemont, to the convention center, and share with those CPAs. We're going to be talking about virtual networking and how to increase your success with that as this pandemic and as we continue to network longer and longer. There are certainly some things that perhaps we became better at early in the pandemic, and now we've kind of slid back down perhaps into some lazy habits, and we're going to be talking about improving that presence today for your virtual networking. So come out and see me at 12:50, I believe is my time. I don't see it written in front of me right now, but I will be out there today. Really excited to be live and masked, but live today. So this idea of coaching actors and how is this relevant to you as a manager or an employee? And I realized it comes down to choices. And that's what we kind of named this particular LinkedIn Live. I hear from frustrated employees all the time about micromanagers, about bosses who check in consistently, who criticize how they're going about completing a project, and they feel like they don't have ownership over their work, and they're simply fed up and thinking about walking away, literally, from their place of business. And we all know that people tend to leave bosses more than they leave companies, right? So if you are in the boss level listening to me today, I want you to think about your level of check-in with your folks. Do you fall into that micromanager bucket? None of us like to consider us to be micromanagers, but it might have come up in a 360 review or something where your employees are, asking to have a little bit more autonomy. The opposite is also true with some of the teams that I work with. They come to me with the opposite problem. They say, we don't get any guidance and we go and do the assignment the way we think we should, and then we're criticized, or it's suddenly not good enough or not presented in the way that my boss wanted it to be. And I didn't have any help along the way. There were no check-ins. So now what do those people do, right? There are two sides of the continuum. And the same thing goes for actors. Stick with me here. An actor could have a director who is very much stopping them every couple of minutes, giving them line readings, telling them specifically when to stop and start their movement across the stage. There could be very, very, very picky micromanaging types of directors. And then there are some that I had as an actress, or that I have assisted as a movement coach or something else on a project. And I feel like, wow, these actors are really floundering because they're not really given any guidance whatsoever. It's, oh, just play. Oh, do what you want, and we'll keep what's good and we'll throw away what's bad. Well, sometimes too many choices, having all the options in the world for how to move about the stage isn't helpful either, because that can be just as stymieing. And the same thing goes for your employees. If they're given carte blanche to do things any way that they want, it could be, oh my gosh, I have no idea where to start because I've been given no real guidance. Maybe you only have a deadline and that's the only thing that you gave them. So here's where choices come in. Rather than those two extremes of micromanaging or giving free rein, it's giving choices. It's narrowing the parameters for your employees. And this is what I tried to do as a director on my projects, is coach within some boundaries, particularly when it comes to movement. I may say, today I want you to play with accelerating and decelerating as we go through the scene. What lines are set a little bit faster? What lines are set a little bit slower? How is your movement affected by this? And I just give them one thing to think about. And that is a great lesson for our managers as well. Give some parameters within which you will accept how things turn out, which could be a choice. And you can come to your employees with this. I could see this going in 2 or 3 different ways, and I'll let you make the choice as to how you would like to handle this. And you lay out those choices. The same thing can go for you as the employee when you're dealing with your superiors. You can come to them, particularly if they're not giving you as much information or input as you would like. You can say to them, I see this being completed one of 2 ways. I would love to have a quick 5-minute conversation, and you can guide me into which way you'd like me to go. Everybody likes to have choices. Why? Because that gives them a little bit of ownership. And for bosses, particularly those micromanaging bosses, they like to feel like they have a little bit of that control over how things are progressing. And you don't know what kind of up the chain pressure they're receiving. They may be under a lot of pressure from their superiors, and that then is trickling down on you with them really getting in your business and micromanaging. Always remember that you don't necessarily know what's entirely going on with them, and maybe have that conversation with them. These are the 2 choices. You know better than I do what your boss is expecting from this. Which one do you think might be best? And that starts the verbal conversation. Whether you're going to them with choices or whether you are giving the choices. There's both sides of that, right? Next, how does that body language piece fit into this? Well, there's always going to be a body language piece. And the evaluation phase of decision-making is really critical to our communication success. Because this evaluation phase, where we're taking the information and then we're deciding what to do with it before we go into action, that really is the bridge between that assignment and completion. And this evaluation phase is where things can get messed up. And because I call it a bridge, sometimes I talk to clients about, you've fallen over into the creek. You're drowning right now because either you have too many choices or you're going with the flow and you're just in the river and you're following along, and now you feel lost because you have nothing to hold on to. Or sometimes people get paralyzed in the middle of the bridge because they haven't been given any guidance, and so they don't know which way to go. They don't know whether to go back and get more information or whether to proceed. So this bridge is a very critical time for you as a manager and for you as an employee when it comes to communication. And the way we signal this bridge phase is something that I've shown many times. This is a different way to look at it. I always like to give many examples and many ways to think about the nonverbal. But this tipping idea of giving them the one choice and then the other choice It's very subtle. It doesn't have to be large. It can simply be that small of a tipping in the shoulders, in the torso. Once again, this can be seen virtually. This is seen in person because it is chest up, this little tipping signal. And 9 times out of 10, it will happen naturally, but you might want to put it into your brain that when you give those choices, you want to present them as an either or. I suppose it could turn into a both and as the conversation proceeds, but when you tip, remember your body language influences the other person in the conversation. And if you're presenting it with this tipping motion, there's a greater likelihood that the opposite person in the conversation will then start to evaluate these things and give it the thought that it needs in order to make the decision of which way to go. And it's okay to say, I'm putting these 2 choices, I'll put these in an email to you. That way you can look at it on your own time and get back to me. It doesn't necessarily have to happen right then. You don't have to force that decision on either the employee or the superior, but this tipping helps everybody go into evaluation mode. And the other thing about tipping, which is a little bit even more subtle, particularly if you are dealing with a boss that you are struggling with. And I know there are many of you out there that are in this situation. When you tip, it also comes with just a little bit of acquiescing. It gives a little bit of it's not a forward, like bowing down idea. It's not that. We're not going that far with things. But when you tip, there is a little bit of softness, or the idea of either way is really okay with me. And that helps soothe their fears, if they have them, about the way this particular topic is going to be handled. It strokes their ego a little bit that either way is okay with me. Basically, I understand you're the boss. It's your decision. And for some people, we need to do that in order to lower your stress. I know it feels like, why should I have to give in to this other person? Wow, those sorts of things. I know it can really feel like that, but I don't want that to be the message of today. I want the message to be, how can I lower my stress so that I know what I need to do and I can be successful? Therefore, I am saving myself time. I am more likely to be promoted because of the success and the way I altered my communication in order to reach that success. The same thing for the managers. If you only have to repeat yourself twice at the most, we like to get communication down to you only have to say it once and then it happens the way you wish it to happen. There's a greater likelihood of that if you come in with saying, this is the project. I would like you to consider these 2 ways of completing it and get back to me with which way you've decided is going to be the best for our timeline, or the best for our client, or the best for the resources that we have at hand, right? And when you're, even as the boss, when you are tipping, this is showing, I understand that I am giving this to you. This, I am giving up ownership of this project, versus this is the project, this is how I want it to be done. Do you see the difference in that? It immediately becomes a more rigid, it immediately becomes more direct and pointy at the person that you're talking to, because naturally when you go into that mode vocally, it's going to happen non-verbally as well, because you are focused and you are becoming very linear in your thinking, which is going to make your body language very linear as well. And narrow things are generally perceived as more uptight, as having no flexibility. All of those things. Whereas, be open to suggestions, be open to sharing, and the tipping helps with that as well. That's going to be enough for today. I heard a ding, but I don't think I see a comment. So if you made a comment and I'm not seeing it, I apologize that it's not showing up for you. This is a really, really good one to be sharing with your teams. I don't often say that, but I really feel strongly that this particular philosophy, and this is going to be something that I add into more and more of my trainings. I think it's been in there subtly, but I'm going to be highlighting it a little bit more as we move forward, because I am really excited about it, and I think it is going to be a key to improving your communication in a very quick and relatively painless way. All right, everybody. I will see you next week on Tuesday at 8 a.m. and we'll discuss something else. Maybe it will stem once again from my new directing gig, but my actors will be benefiting from how I work with you, and you will be benefiting from how I work with my actors as well. Have a wonderful week, and I hope to see all of you CPAs out at the Rosemont Convention Center later today for the summit. Take care.